from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, titled The Appearance of Lord Varaha, texts 46 and 47. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay. So there are two verses assigned for today, text 46 and 47. So 46 we all can recite, and then 47 I'll recite and read. Maitreya Uvacha Ityupasthyamanasau Munibhir Brahmavadibihi Salile Svakurakrantha Upadatta Vitavanim Maitreya Uvacha Iti Upasthyamanasau Munibhir Brahmavadibihi Salile Svakurakrantha Upadatta Vitavanim Maitreya Uvacha Iti Upasthyamanasau Munibhir Brahmavadibihi Shalile Svakurakrantha Upadatta Vitavanim. Hare Krishna, please.
Maitreya Vacha Iti Upasthyamanasau Munibhir Brahmavadibhi Salilesva Kurakranta Upadatta Vitavanim.
I'm sorry, I should have zoomed in. Is it legible now?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Upasthiyayamano Asau Munivir Brahma Bhadivihi Salile Sakura Kranto Upadhatta Abhavinim. Hare Krishna.
Maitreya Uvacha Iti Upatyamanasau Munibhirbrahma Vidhivihi Vadivihi Salilasva Kurakranta Upadatta Vitavanim. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Upasthiyamano Asau Munibhir Brahmavadibihi Salile Svakurakranta Upadatta Vitavani. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Okay, read the synonyms. Maitreya Uvacha, the sage Maitreya said, Iti, thus, Upastiyamana, being praised by, Asau, Lord Bore, Munibihi, by the great sages, Brahmavadibihi, by the transcendentalists, Shalile, on the water, Swa, Kura, Akrante, touched by his own hooves, Upadatta, placed, Avita, the maintainer, Avanim, the earth. The sage Maitreya said, the Lord, being thus worshipped by all the great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water. The earth was placed on the water by his inconceivable potency. The Lord is all powerful, and therefore he can sustain the huge planets either on the water or in the air, as he likes. The tiny human brain cannot conceive how these potencies of the Lord can act. A man can give some vague explanation of the laws by which such phenomena are made possible, but actually, the tiny human brain is unable to conceive of the activities of the Lord, which are therefore called inconceivable. Yet, the frog philosophers still try to give some imaginary explanation. We'll also read text 47. सैत्तं भगवानुर्वीं विश्वक्षेणः प्रजापति रसाया लीलायोन्नीतम् अप्सुन्यस्य ययौ हरि. Synonyms: Saha he itham, in this manner, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Urvim, the earth, Vishwakshenaha, another name of Vishnu, Prajapati, the Lord of the living entities, Rasaya, from within the water, Leelaya, very easily, Unnitam, raised, Apsu, on the water, Nyasya, placing, Yayau, returned to his own abode, Hari, the personality of Godhead. Translation and purport. In this manner, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. The personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, descends by his will to the material planets in his innumerable incarnations for particular purposes, and again he goes back to his own abode. When he descends, he is called an avatara, because avatara means one who descends. Neither the Lord himself nor his specific devotees who come to this earth are ordinary living entities like us. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं. नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्ने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. ओम विष्णुपदाय पुष्पष्टाय भूतले श्रीते सच्चिदानंद स्वामी नित्य नामने नित्यानंद परिप्रेष्ठ दीनभद्रे कृपा संकीर्तन. Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak, primarily for my own purification. I'm not at all qualified, but I'll try to repeat what I heard. These are very technical verses. And I seek all of your blessings and permission before I can share something. Hare Krishna. So these are some of the final verses of this chapter, and Maitreya Muni is speaking, or he's giving the essence from this chapter at the end. Iti upasthyamana. So the Lord Bor Varaha is being praised. By who? By Munibhir Brahmavadibihi, by these great sages and transcendentalists. They praise the Lord. Shalile Swakurakranta, touched with his own hooves, the Lord Upadatta Vitavanim, means and placed the earth on the water. Yeah. And further, what did he do? In the next verse, it says, Sa ittam Bhagavan Urvim Vishwakshena Prajapati. So the Lord placed earth in its respective position, and the Lord is addressed here as Vishwakshena and Prajapati, like the commander in chief. Prajapati, the Lord of all living entities. And Rasaya Leelayonitam. He raised it from within the water very easily. Apsunyasya yayav hari. And what did he do after placing it on water? He returned to his abode. So the Lord descended from the spiritual world, he performed the pastimes, and then he returned. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the earth was placed on the water by his inconceivable potency. The Lord is all powerful, and therefore he can sustain the huge planets either on the water or in the air as he likes. So, Prabhupada is giving a beautiful explanation here, So, because one may wonder, as soon as one reads this verse, how can the earth float on water? And in the purport, is also talking about, earth floating in the air, the planets are floating in the air. So, these questions, come to the mind. How is it possible? Right? And Prabhupada immediately writes here in the purport, the tiny human brain cannot conceive how these potencies of the Lord can act. So we are tiny, very, very limited, very, very insignificant, and trying to explain about the Lord who is achintya means he is inconceivable. Yeah. Prabhupada writes, man can give some vague explanation of the laws by which such phenomena are made possible. But actually, the tiny human brain is unable to conceive of the activities of the Lord, which are therefore called inconceivable. Yet the frog philosophers still try to give some imaginary explanation. So, in many places in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, Yato vacho nivartante, aprapriya manasa saha, meaning, the Lord's name, form, his attributes, his activities, his paraphernalia, we cannot ascertain uh, mm, through a material dictionary. Meaning, if one tries to manufacture, oh, this is how Lord looks like, or this is what the Lord's name, I think this is what the Lord's name is, or it means, or these are how he should look like. This should be his forms, qualities. Uh, we can never understand if we manufacture these with our own limited senses. Why? Because Lord, who is the creator of everything, means what? If Lord is the creator of everything, he existed before this creation, right? Before there was any creation, he existed. That means what? His activities, his form, his qualities, they are not materially created entities. Janma karma chame divyam, right? They are always transcendental. So, which means by our material concoctions, by our material vibrations and thoughts, we cannot ascertain the Supreme Lord. Huh? Um, and, you know, even the greatest of the devotees cannot fully describe the qualities of the Lord. Fully describe. Because they are ever increasing. That's why it's inconceivable potency. Forget of the materialist cannot conceive at all. But it's nobody can conceive his potencies completely. So by his inconceivable potency, uh, the Lord Varaha did this. He empowered the earth to float on water. He's making the earth float on air, right? As we see, all the planets are there. So why can't he do the same thing? So many, um, like you see, the earth is floating in the air. Earth is not falling on the sun planet. So much research is being done, so many dissertations, doctoral philosophies, so many mathematical equations. Father explains these are all vague explanations. None of these um, can explain why the distance between the earth and the sun is exactly what it is. Why isn't it, a little bit closer or a little bit farther away? And what happens, if it is a little bit closer, then the planet gets burnt. If it is farther away, it gets frozen. So a little bit out of balance, what will happen? Everything falls off. So what is keeping everything in balance? What is keeping everything in its right place? And most importantly, the maintenance of this whole creation. So many things are perfectly in order. Where is all this order coming from? Um, I was hearing a lecture from Danvir Goswami Maharaj on a words from Bhagavatam, you know, and he was saying that even if you do statistical analysis, it is very, very, very unlikely that life has come by chance. So complex, you know. He was giving this very nice example of, in our human body, we have our eyes, and there are optic nerves. And where are these nerves starting from? Right, they're coming from the brain, right? Or the nerve goes back to the brain. That nerve slowly starts growing from the brain, and it reaches the eye, exactly coming to the right spot. Imagine, like, I'm digging a tunnel, and somebody at the other end has a small hole or something or a dot. And what are the chances of me digging and coming exactly to that point? So very, very unlikely. Yeah. So what happens if it and that nerve coming from the brain, that nerve, instead of ending at the eye, it ends at the ear. So the point he was making is that, so it is very, very unlikely things evolve by chance. That there is a living conscious intelligence behind everything. Uh, so, and whose intelligence is it? So all these laws, physical laws, they can give some explanation. But why do these things happen? What made it happen? And what is the purpose behind it? That science cannot explain. Who did the design? Who did the engineering? These questions cannot be answered by science or philosophical speculation. And Prabhupada writes, maybe at best you can come to some general conclusions, but they are vague. But, uh, and what purpose does it serve? These questions can only be answered through the Vedic knowledge. So, even then Prabhupada speaks about this Dr. Frog and his philosophy in the purport. You know, um, I know yesterday Ramcharan Prabhu touched on it a little bit at the end of the class, but I'll just repeat it for those of you who may not be aware. You probably all are, but this Dr. Frog, was a great scientist among the frogs, and he made his residence within a well, you know, and he was an expert in his field of endeavor, and he knew everything about the well and everything related to that. So one day, one of his friends came to visit him, and he said, "Oh, my dear friend, I have seen this vast mass of water, the Atlantic Ocean." So the Dr. Frog asked, "What is this Atlantic Ocean?" And then his friend replied, "Oh, it's very vast." Then the Dr. Frog asked, "How vast is it? Is it 5 times bigger than the well? Or 10 times bigger than my well?" This Dr. Frog was asking in amusement. And then the friend replied, no, 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 it's very, very vast. Uh, Then, then the Dr. Frog was like, assertively saying, come on, 20 times. That's it. No more than that. So asserting with speculation. So this is called Kupa Manduka Nyaya. Kupa means well, and Manduka means a frog, and Nyaya means the philosophy. So one may have some knowledge or expertise in their field, uh, but uh, he was not able to comprehend the vastness of the Atlantic Ocean because of the limited exposure. His estimation couldn't come anywhere close enough to gauge the vastness of the ocean. Yeah. So sometimes, we hear, oh, God is great, but we cannot imagine how great God is. Generally, this Dr. Frog's philosophy is applied. The speculation about God is like the speculation of this Dr. Frog about the Atlantic Ocean. Uh, so these mundane philosophers and scientists are thinking sometimes like this, and this will not help us understand what God is. And the only way to know about God and His potencies, uh, His creation, and the related aspects, His name, form, attributes, is to accept this Vedic knowledge from a person who has seen the absolute truth and who is able to deliver this message as it is in the line of disciplic succession. Right? Evam parampara praptam. In disciplic succession. And we also heard in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshina. A bona fide spiritual master who has accepted a guru, who has realized this knowledge from a bona fide guru, is able to deliver this message. So, uh, people may get Nobel Prizes, they may be well accomplished in some modern science, or they may be experts in their chosen fields, but aspects that are beyond their capacity of imagination or measurement, uh, um, they cannot understand. Srila Prabhupada says, we cannot conceive aspects of entire creation by our tiny brain or limited thinking abilities. Because my senses are limited, I cannot argue about that which is inconceivable. That's why it's called achintya. Chintya means our thoughts and our arguments. And our achintya means which we cannot contemplate. We have to just accept it. And unless we accept that the Lord is inconceivable, we cannot uh, we cannot accommodate this conception of God. So first thing is to understand that Lord is inconceivable. Uh, so by accepting this transcendental knowledge, Vedic knowledge, that comes down in this line of disciplic succession of the pure devotees of the Lord, uh, we can rise above these defects of the material mind, of our senses. Then we can reach a proper understanding of the absolute truth, His creation, and every other aspect that is in line. Otherwise, you know, people speculate. People have different ideas about this whole creation and how it works. Atheistic people, for example, their main premise is that everything is going on automatically, right? They think matter on its own does everything. In one morning walk, Srila Prabhupada explains about, this the solar system, where Sir Isaac Newton, he made a replica uh, with all the planets floating, and he made a small replica, and it was in his house. And one day his assistant came, you know. My understanding was that the assistant was an atheist, and he looked at that replica, and he said, "Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful replica uh, of all the planets. Oh, who made this?" So Isaac Newton, who was sitting there, he responded, "Oh, no one, no one." And the assistant said, "What do you mean, no one?" Newton was reading a book or something, and he didn't even look at him. He just said, "No one made it," and he kept on reading. And that assistant got very disturbed. I said, "What do you mean? Am I looking like a fool to you? Somebody must have made it, and this whoever made it must have a great intelligence. And I want to meet that person who created this." You know, Isaac Newton then responded, "My friend, this is nothing but a small replica of the whole of the universe, and you are the one who has always been declaring that no one created the universe. Uh, and now you're declaring to me that somebody must have created this replica. And I'm saying it just happened. It just happened by chance, and you don't believe me." Uh, so then he countered him, saying, "How can I accept your logic when you say all of this whole creation just happened?" So the point is, when a small instrument or a machine or a toy, we can't believe that it happened by chance. How can we think, you know, uh, that this whole creation has happened? Then there is no controller. And many examples can be given. We can see in nature, so many beautiful flowers are there. Uh, um, Hundreds and millions of flowers, so perfect. Uh, it's very difficult sometimes for us to just paint that flower also. Make a replica painting. A lot of effort. Even then, you can find uh, some mistakes in there. Uh, but imagine the intelligence behind so many different designs, so many different flowers. Uh, they don't happen by themselves. There is a controller. Uh, uh, and because people cannot understand, so this is another theory that even because people don't understand, they say there's nobody, there's no controller. Yeah. Um, I was, my aunt works at the National Remote Sensing Agency in India. She just retired last year, but she travels in different parts of the world also. So, they launch these satellites, uh, and there's a huge team to manage one satellite. So many people and so many months and years are working so hard, so many brains, so much time, scientists, administrators, so much effort, so much money is spent to send one spaceship into the orbits. And even sometimes, even that launch becomes a failure, right? How much technical expertise is needed? And it's hardly maybe a few kgs weight. But as Prabhupada explains here, you can see there are so many planets, trillions of times heavier than a Sputnik or a rocket space. They are effortlessly floating in air and moving precisely in their orbits. You can even predict exactly where they will be. How is this happening? There is a controller. No? So point is, It is foolish when you spend so much time and money for a spaceship and so many intelligent minds are working behind for a small satellite, but for the entire universe, we say there is no controller. Um, so different philosophies are there, different theories are out there. So some group of people, who believe that, oh, at some point, or we are, they project the our temporary existence on spiritual reality. Yeah, like we'll believe that at certain point there will be heaven on earth, you know, or sometimes because we can't describe this in words because we cannot think of it with our mind, right? Because we said it's inconceivable, so they say it's void, shunyavadi, right? Because I cannot explain, so there is nothing, you know. It's void. From everything is coming from void. Ultimate cause is void. But we all know, we've seen so many examples we can give. Can something come from nothing? My body came from somebody, something, right? It didn't come from nothing. Behind this body is my father, mother, and you can trace like that. So how can everything come out of void? So all this is, less intelligence, tiny brains giving some vague explanations. So people have different ideas. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita and here in Srimad Bhagavatam, say, no, everything is going under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam Hetunanena Tu Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. Yeah? So first of all, matter by itself cannot do anything. Matter by itself cannot give birth to living entities. Right? Um, we all heard of, we say Mother Nature, right? Have you heard of this Mother Nature? Anyone? Yeah, Mother Nature. Uh, we say that nature is our mother for all the living beings. But how about the Father? Without mother, without father, can there be children? This is materialistic way of thinking, yeah, and it doesn't make sense. Krishna says, Aham bija prajapita. That I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. But material nature cannot give birth by its own. There has to be a seed-giving father. And Krishna says, I am that. Hare Krishna, you all are able to hear me, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming.
Mhm.
So, so many teachings are there, so many things are taught in schools, so many theories that life comes from matter. You know, um, there was a Nobel Prize winner in chemistry giving a, a presentation. Oh, no need to believe in God. Everything comes from chemicals. It comes from so and so chemicals. That chemical combinations create life. Uh, uh, so, if we give chemicals, can somebody create a human being or a mosquito? No. So, uh, many people who have incomplete knowledge, they pose as learned authorities. It's beyond the scope of understanding, and it's to try to understand with our limited senses, uh, we cannot, because Lord is adokshaja, because He's beyond these material senses. Still, you see people make so many positive assertions, no God, and they are awarded Nobel Prizes. Hmm. So life comes from life. I was, in California last month for some work. Then I went to the LA Rath Yatra. And then for a couple of days, I went to Santa Clara, where my brother lives near the ISV temple. And there, because of the nice weather, there are a lot of lemon trees. Every house I see so many lemon trees with tens of lemons ripe. So many houses I just see they're just dropping on the floor and nobody is using. I told my brother next time just ship a box to us. We can use it and make some offering for Sunday feast or some program. But so this ordinary lemon tree is producing so many lemons, right? And anybody knows what is the chemical in lemon?
Citric acid.
Yeah,
Citric acid.
Yeah,
yes.
citric.
So if you take all these lemons, I know how many lemons a tree produces?
Yeah, limited.
So much citric acid. One small, tiny living entity is producing so much citric acid, so many chemicals. Similarly, salt water, yeah, end of the day. We are also perspiring, right? Sweat, water also, we also get salty water. All of us have this experience. But what we produce is very limited. Yeah, because I'm very, very limited. I produce very limited, little quantity of water I by perspiration, which contains some salt. Uh, but as just like this, lemon tree produces so much salt water, and now you see all these oceans and seas. Where is this coming from?
Mm.
As a perspiration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's got such potency, unlimited potency. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. Yeah, when a small lemon tree can produce so much, then imagine the unlimited Lord.
Yeah,
Right? So if we use little intelligence and when our eyes are opened by the mercy of Guru, then we can understand that there is a controller behind the creation. And Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I produce everything. Right? This life comes from chemicals examples that I was giving, but where are the chemicals coming from? Okay, you're starting from the chemicals and mixing and creating, but where did the chemicals come from? Krishna, right? So, um, so all these theories are foolish theories. But life comes from life. There is a higher spiritual intelligence, and it requires intelligent direction to run everything, and matter has no intelligence. And the intelligent director is Mayadhyakshena Prakriti. Krishna is the overseer. He is the director, Adhyaksha, yeah, oversight. Uh, um, um, and also, there's a few other, yes. So Krishna is the basis of everything. Everything is resting on him. Krishna says, I am the supreme absolute truth. Uh, and sometimes people say, oh, there is a creator, but somehow he cannot control this creation. Sometimes they acknowledge, okay, maybe there's a creator, but he cannot control everything. Somehow, when sometimes these untoward calamities happen or something, oh, even Lord cannot control. The laws of nature have taken over and he cannot control anymore. No, there's never a time when Lord loses control. He's always in control. Prakriti is producing, moving, non-moving, not independently, not without controllership. He says everything's under my superintendence. Uh, Material nature is like a shadow, and Lord Krishna is like a hand. and the shadow moves where the hand is moving, right? If you don't see the hand, then you think shadow is independent. You all followed this, right? So, but intelligent person knows that wherever the hand is moving, shadow moves. So everything is going on because of Lord Krishna. Uh, um, and the Lord has multifarious energies everywhere. He's maybe sitting in Goloka Vrindavan, but his energies are everywhere. Uh, uh, so um, sometimes some people also speculate, oh, is God personal or impersonal? So we cannot conclude by our speculation. Prabhupada says, Durvibhavyam means beyond our conception, beyond our speculation. And he has his body. And he comes sometimes, like we have seen here, he comes sometimes as an incarnation. But we can see Krishna, Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Barhavatamsam Asitambuda Sundarangam. He has a body. He is not impersonal, he has a body. He has two hands, he's playing a flute, he's got peacock feather in his head. And this is not imagination. And it's not idol worship either. Uh, uh, because so less intelligent people, even if he's present in front of us, oh, they think he's some idol. Because our senses are imperfect. We are not able to conceive. Just like, there is a soul in my body. Uh, can can I see the soul? Can you see this? Can you see the soul in your body? Yeah, can you see? So God is also within our body, but we cannot see. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati. Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Cannot see, but the process is there. Atah Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grahyam Indriyai Sevan Mukehi Jivadav. So, yes, we can prepare our eyes to see the soul, to perceive the soul. We can prepare our eyes to see the Lord. When I was a kid, I don't know, some of you who are from India may know this. Have you heard of conjunctivitis?
That's pink eye, right?
Yes, pink eye, yeah. Uh, you know, eyes used to get so red and there is so much pus oozing, you can barely see. Yeah. So there's some ointment that you apply. Or people, sometimes in old age, you hear people like cataract, they cannot see anything. You have to undergo a surgical procedure, then you can see. So only through the process of bhakti we can understand. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat pravartena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So only by serving Rishikesha, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, by engaging our senses in service to Krishna, then, you see, and he has a form, but it's inconceivable for us. But through the Shastras, through the eyes of the Guru, we can see. In the Brahma Samhita, it's explained Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Yeah. Uh, um, Lord, you know, I can see with my eyes things, but Lord can not only see with his eyes, but he can also eat with his eyes. Oh, I can. Oh, how is it possible for the Lord to eat with his eyes? right? Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti.
All the indriyas.
So, atheistic person may think, oh, oh, you are doing all this offering, so much bhoga, but he has not eaten. The food is there. But Lord, he can eat with his eyes. This is inconceivable potency of the Lord. And like I said in the beginning, unless we accept this inconceivable energy of the Lord, there is no question. He can eat by seeing, by any part of his body. He can do everything. So, we have to accept that he has a body and he has a spiritual body and he can perform activities which we cannot conceive. And he, out of his own causeless mercy, he presents himself in a form that we can see. Uh, uh, so he is personal. I started off this conversation by talking about how some people speculate whether it is impersonal or personal. But he appears in a form so we can see, we can touch, we can dress, so we do deity worship. We can offer a garland, we can offer bhoga, and he accepts our service. Uh, uh, and also in the next verse, we see that Prabhupada is talking about avatars, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about that. In the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, also it is explained, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also explains to Sanatan Goswami that uh, the expansions of Lord Krishna who come into this material world, to this material creation, they are called avatars. And Prabhupada writes the word avatara means one who descends, one who descends from the spiritual world. Uh, and from the spiritual world, there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. From these planets, the expansions of the Supreme Lord come into this universe. Yeah, and there are different avatars, right? There are uh, Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, Guna avatars, Manmantra avatars, Yuga avatars, and Shakti-avesh avatars. Yeah. Um, and the popular ones that most people know about the Dasha avatars, but you see in the first canto, third chapter, Krishna, the source of all incarnations, many incarnations are given, uh, 26, I believe. But there is no limit to the incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Just like there, if you see the waves in an ocean, there are unlimited waves, so same as unlimited incarnations, and the Lord appears for various reasons. And during Brahma's one day, there are several Leela avatars, uh, also known as Kalpa avatars, because they appear in every Kalpa. And this Varaha appearance is a Leela avatara. And also Prabhupada writes at the end that about uh, the he says that when neither the Lord himself nor his specific devotees who come to this earth are ordinary living entities, you know. So so these forms are not ordinary material forms. He's saying, nor is it specific devotees, you know. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, um, it is explained about the different avatars, but the four yuga avatars also are there. In Satya Yuga, the incarnation of God is white. In Treta Yuga, he is red. In Dwapar Yuga, he is blackish. And in Kali Yuga, uh, uh, he is also blackish, but sometimes in a special Kali Yuga, his color is yellowish, as in the case of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Uh, and in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtane Praya Yajantihi Sumedasa. So the Lord appears, Lord incarnates as a devotee and is always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Uh, um, and Lord engages in preaching love of Godhead through this Sankirtan movement. Uh, and those who are intelligent class of people, they take to this process of self-realization. Uh, and then there is Shakti Avesh avatars. There are many Shakti Avesh avatars. There are direct and indirect Shakti Avesh avatars. And when the Lord Himself comes, he is called as the Sakshat or direct Shakti Avesh avatara. But when He empowers a living entity to represent Him, that living entity is called an indirect uh, uh, avatara. And Prabhupada is explaining that they are not ordinary living entities like us, the Shaktavesh avataras. Uh, the four Kumaras are an example of the Shaktavesh avataras. Narada Muni is an example. Prithu Maharaj, Parashuram. Uh, but there's specific power given to them by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they should not be considered as ordinary. Uh, 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 the four Kumaras, they specifically represent the Supreme Lord's opulence of knowledge. Narada Muni represents the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Um, and King Prithu, the power for maintaining the living entities, that power was invested in him. And Parshurama, the power for killing evil elements. Uh, so they're all empowered uh, representatives of the Lord and should not be considered as ordinary. Just like the Lord is not ordinary, it's the same way. Hare Krishna, I'll stop here. Any comments, questions, corrections?
Thank you, Prabhu. It was really, really nice. It was really good to be able to the analogies that you made. How this the how the universe was created, and how we take it for granted, and then we don't think. And obviously there are others who think, oh, it just happened. But then the analogy of a tree or a lemon, or it really makes you think. We have limited brain capacity to understand everything. So we can just say, oh, it just happened. But there's also for us to really think about everything that was created, and everything that's happening around us is not because you know we did something, or we invented something, or it's really by Krishna's grace that everything or anything that's happening. So it was really nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your comments. Yes, you made me remember this. Even the scientists who are doing the research and can claim something, but even that intelligence to do that research, Krishna says, Matta smritir gnanam apohanam cha. Even that is coming from me. You just reminded me of that. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It was very nice, Prabhu. The class was really nice. I remember one thing, like I was reading about, like even the first living entity Brahma, he was doing the tapasya, right, for 100 years, and after coming from the tapasya, he said the Lord is unconceivable. So what we are nothing. So yes,
Very good point. Yes, excellent point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Not only lemon, any fruit. Yesterday I was eating apple, then I was thinking it was so sweet. I said, who gave this sweetness to the tree and then to the apple? That was really, when it's fun thinking, that is unbelievable, and how Krishna does things. And the apple has that much sweetness. Any fruit that has that sweetness or bitterness in a melon, bitter melon has bitterness. So why? So everything he just, he knows how to do that, and not only giving what is that these things, but Krishna with his glance, he is saying he can eat, he can produce children too. He did that too with his glance. So those things are also there.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
he produced children too with his glance.
Yes.
So that nobody in this, we can say that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's it. No other word for that.
Thank you for sharing, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yes, and in one lecture I was hearing you mentioned about the fruits, apples or any fruits or any vegetables, the juices, how the juices are coming into these fruits
Yeah,
from where? Because of
his creation only.
because of the moonlight,
Moonlight. Yeah,
and then he says Nakshatranam aham
yeah.
shashi, and he says I am the moon. you know. So yes, if we go on digging where the source, the actual
That's true.
source, the actual cause, then we'll come to that understanding that Krishna, the person, is responsible.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for your comments and additions. If there's nothing else, then we can end here.
Yeah.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha
Sassanji Bhai,
Nitanam
Vajnana
Pavanebhyo
Anam
Vaishnavebhyo
Bhagavate
Namo
Namaste
Namaste.
Namo Namaha.
Anam Tugdi Vaishnavindhu.